So I think we've all had enough of drawing buildings, so I have a toy here. This was my toy, mine when I was a kid. Now my son plays with it. But it's a nice one because it fits into perspective really well. So this week I want you to look for things around your house that you could use perspective drawing on to kind of use it to help you draw them. So I already got started on this drawing. I'm starting with this corner right here. And I have that right there. So the first thing I want to do is measuring these angles up to figure out what angle this goes back at. So I have this coming here, going up off the page, and then this one going here, figuring out this line and this line that goes back. To get my vanishing points, it's for most objects, again, your vanishing points are going to be off the page. If I tilt this some, I could get one vanishing point on the page. If you have a large table, it can be helpful to make a point that's way over here or way on that side or way on this side over here. But if not, you just kind of have to know that as this line comes down, it's going to tilt more. As it comes up closer to the top, it's going to get flatter. So I started out by drawing this square here, which I have right here. For this, I brought this straight up. I'm going to finish that out. Finish out the top of it. So this top part, it's carved in a little bit on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new top for that. The new top will look something like that. And that'll give me new edges for these corners to come from. Comes pretty much straight down from where I am. So this is where we have to start really focusing on learning how to see the objects that we're looking for. Learning how to really see an object and turn it into this perspective drawing. I can bring Next, I'm going to bring this front section down. So I can continue on this for quite a while before it's finished. There's a lot of aspects to this. This kind of gets me used to drawing more complicated objects. I know that this block here continues back, so I can go ahead and draw it back to about there. This is where you'll start to find that if you didn't take those first assignments seriously and didn't try to actually learn how to do this, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle now and wish that you would practice some of those simple cubes more, because this is where it starts to get to where you really have to see those cubes and see what's happening. So I'm going to draw this out like a cube. Coming down. And then I can round this edge off here, round this edge off here, and those are going to be my new edges. We'll do the same thing on this side. Now, if you have an object that has things like wheels like this, I can figure out where this outside square of the wheel is. It comes down to about here. It's back to about there. And that's what I'm going to use for a square that goes around this object. If I put my X down through the middle, that gives me my outside circle. Now, what can be helpful about that is that if I continue it up, this will give me a location that I can figure out where, let's see, my other wheel, I have another wheel that starts about here. And then there's some space between, and then I have another wheel there. But these are going to be my cylinders. It comes into here. And I can do the same thing here. If I can see the wheels on the other side, I can make this a cylinder that goes all the way over, and I can figure out where the wheels are on the other side, which I would use for this, but I can only see a tiny bit of it here, so I'll just draw that in. And I can go ahead and figure out how deep these go, because they're all going to be the same. And that can help me to get all of my wheels lined up well. All right, so this then goes in. So this wheel ends, and another one starts right there. So I'm going to end up, that comes out about here. With a second wheel that goes around there. And that can give me, again, if I continue these lines back, that tells me where my next wheels are going to go. And this ends right there. All right, so these steam stacks that come up, I'll bring one up and go ahead and bring the lines that come up. I have another one coming here. And the other one comes about right here. Now that needs to be a little bit wider. I want to make sure I get the top of those lined up again, going towards the vanishing point. And then in the middle, I'll have another line coming up. And then if I can start everything out inside a cube, even these wheel shapes, if I start everything out that way, then that's going to give me like the most accurate depiction that I can get. Creating this as a cylinder, this is a cylinder, this is a cylinder, this is a cube, to try to get this as accurate and precise as I can. And even when you have objects coming up like this, wherever they come up to, it should still follow this line to the vanishing point that is that way, or follow these lines to the vanishing point that's this way. And that way I'll get a drawing, even if it doesn't look exactly like the object that I'm drawing, which this came out pretty close. Even if it doesn't look exactly like this object, as long as all of these lines are going to one point and all of these lines are going to one point, it's going to look logical. It's going to look like it makes sense. It will look good even if it doesn't look exactly like the object I'm looking at. So that's what I want to look for. So this isn't just for trucks or toys. You can do this with any object that you want. Trying to get it to fit into perspective. Some objects work better than others, so try to find something that you think is going to work well. So I wanted to give you an example of something that is more like something you might have if you don't have toy cars lying around, as many of us don't. So this is something you might have, just showing you another object. Again, the first thing I'm doing, I'm starting with this corner at the bottom and trying to match this angle coming up. And then this angle is coming out that way. So I know this way is going to array a lot more. I'm going to go ahead and get this corner here. So I'll bring this line straight up, which it actually angles a little bit, but I'm going to bring it straight up for the sake of this demo. And then this line there. You can see these are getting closer together on this side than they are right here. Everything always needs to get closer together. The farther it is that way, the closer this is to being parallel to the ground, the less variation there's going to be. They're not going to get quite as close together so quickly, but they still will get closer together. So I can go ahead and do that. All right, and then I'm going to look at this handle there. I'm going to start out by making this as square as I can, going back. So this object isn't actually squared. This is flat on the bottom, but this here rounds a little bit in, and then it tapers in a little bit. So I can use this block shape that I have. I'll go ahead and do this one going out as well. So I have this block shape that I can go ahead and give myself a new corner. And figure out what that curve is. So even if my object is not square, I'm going to start with a square shape. So I can go ahead and do the same with this. This is fairly rounded out. This here is a straight line, so I'll go ahead and bring that in. And it comes to there. So even when things have curved edges, you can still use this perspective to get the shape accurately. Now this, as it comes over here, let's give it the spot where it ends. It's going to be about like that. Again, I'm getting the general shape, but this curves in right here towards the end like this. So I'll bring that in. And so I can bring this down. That tells me where this curve needs to start. And that gives me that. Now this doesn't come straight over either, it curves. So I'm going to say it stops about there. This does a weird thing here. This actually starts out here. Well, I can bring the whole thing in. Yeah, I can start it here. So I'm just fudging this line a little bit to make it curve the way it should. And then this curves out. That's pretty close. Now I need to get this portion that comes down here. This actually comes in. There's a little section out right there where it has this little guy there. All right, and then the handle going back, it's going to a different vanishing point because it's not in line with this. So I'm gonna just still giving myself these straight lines that I see, but I'm mostly just eyeballing it because it has different vanishing points, which means to make it look like it makes sense doesn't matter nearly as much as the rest. All right. So when you draw these, I want to make sure that I see these lines in there, even if the object isn't exactly lining up with those. I want to see them there, to know that you are looking at how this object fits into perspective. Now, if I want to do these letters on here, again, I'm going to give myself these lines. This is about how it fits. And I could write the brand here, figure those letters out coming in there. So what I want you to do this week is draw 3 objects, 3 different objects using perspective lines, and see if you can figure them out. I don't care what the objects are. Try to find something. It can't be a book, something that's just a block in shape, because I know that you can make block shapes. I want something that's a little bit of a different shape for you to figure out how to draw it using perspective lines. All right. Good luck.